What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, he's the gatekeeper. I'm the keymaster. It was so funny. I couldn't finish saying it. Desro.
Vince Glortho.
Desro. That's Desro.
And sitting across from me, of course, is Brian Paul.
Remember when we used to take this seriously?
No, actually I don't.
Neither can I. So this week and every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, wow, I really gotta remember the name of the show. We take a look into the PlayStation VR back catalog. We pick a game at random, we pull it out, we play the crap out of it, and then we tell you if you should be playing it or not.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
Some games get better with time.
That's true. No, there's a lot of games that came out, that will get a little bit of an update and radically change how the game, it plays. So we want to, give these games that may have gotten passed over another chance to shine.
Yeah. So what game are we going to talk about this week, Desiree?
Tonight we were talking about FATED, the Silent Oath. Yeah. Yep.
About a dead guy.
About a dead guy.
Yeah.
What you're saying is he was a short, dead dude.
He was short.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm not sure if I knew he was short.
No, he wasn't short.
No.
He's actually pretty tall.
Very
It's kind of funny. You're talking to the other NPC characters. People out there got that. Oh, yeah.
Yet another reference I didn't get.
Really? You didn't get that one?
I don't get anything.
Oh, man.
Like, I'm not even here sometimes.
Okay. But anyways.
Yeah, so Fated the Silent Oath, it's pretty funny because this game, let's just get the basics out of the way. It was released back in March 28th of this year.
Yes.
The year of our Lord 2017. That is how it's said, right? I don't know.
Yeah, or just CE.
I don't know things. Not AD?
Oh, no, not anymore.
We don't say AD anymore?
Not for a while.
See, I'm totally out of the loop.
Common Era and BCE before Common Era.
I'm so confused. So this game cost $9.99 in US rubles.
No, actually,
dollars.
No, we switched over to dollars a long time ago. Dude. You're way out.
No one tells me anything, and it's on the shorter side. Let's just say that.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. Well,
as they put in their press releases, it's movie length.
It's a short movie length.
Yeah.
It's like real short.
Yeah, hour and a half maybe.
Hour and a half maybe. I did a Let's Play on the channel that no one's watched really. That took me like an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Now, that made sense to me. I went back and watched one of my old reviews for this though, and I said more along the 3-hour length. We'll get to that.
Okay.
We will get to that. There was a reason for it, but we'll get to it.
All right.
Yeah. So let's talk about the introduction of this game. Let's talk about the premise. What's going on?
Yeah, I think we do need to back up a little bit
Sure.
though, because it is interesting. Like, I did not play this game when it was first released. I just played this game for the first time today, honestly, and playing this right after playing Skyrim definitely puts your head in a different space, because this is based in Viking sort of Norse mythology. You start out dead, and a goddess basically says, hey, I'll let you come back to life so you can protect your family, but I got to take your voice. So with this, they're solving a problem that doesn't really need to be solved.
Communication.
Yeah. Of course, in most first-person games, your character doesn't really talk. Half-Life, etc. And most games just say, okay, your character doesn't talk. Or maybe like one other NPC will make a comment about, oh, you don't speak too much, do you?
You're the strong silent type.
Yeah, and that's basically it. So right off the bat, you're like solving a problem that didn't really need solving. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they were probably trying to be creative and saying, hey, you know what? For the first time ever, you're going on this adventure with a VR headset on, and while games like Stifle took advantage of, say, the microphone,
right,
where other enemies could hear the sounds you were making, these guys, oh no, I don't know who made this game. That's so weird.
It was a Canadian company. It was paid for by the Canadian government, so hooray that.
What the hell? I wrote it down. I swear I did. It doesn't matter. They didn't make anything else. Like, I looked at their website, and I was like totally shocked to see that they didn't really have any other VR games out there.
Yeah.
But so whereas Stifled took advantage of the microphone, this game took advantage of, like, I don't know, what do you want to call them? The accelerometers,
nodding,
the ability to move your head in VR.
Explain what you mean by take advantage of, Brian.
Well, I mean, people ask you yes and no questions, and you can do this or you can do this.
But you can only do it when there's a specific audio cue you hear. They'll be talking, there'll be dialogue, and you'll hear a little beep sort of sound.
Yeah.
And that means, and then they're sitting there waiting for you to either nod yes or nod no.
And it stare at you until you do.
Yes. And what effect does your nodding have on the gameplay or the storyline or anything really?
Or anything? Yeah, absolutely none.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely none. It's a shame because I feel like, and I think this is a theme I'm going to come back to over and over and over in this episode, is that I feel like whoever made this game, the mystery developer, like I really truly feel like they set out to make a different game than we got. I feel like they started implementing all of these ideas. They gave us little bits of they gave us a little bit of glimpses into these ideas that they had. What was it?
Frima, Frima.
Frima. Oh, jeez. Yep. I can't believe I didn't. Yeah, that's so strange. So there are elements of, like, say, this conversation ability, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, you can say yes and you can say no, and you would think that, you know, this would even influence the conversation. It doesn't. It influences, like, maybe the very next line that the character says to you, but then kind of shoehorns it right back into the conversation that was happening.
Right. They'll ask you something that maybe the plot would expect you to say yes, and if you say no, they'll say, well, that's okay, and just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this game starts off, and you're sitting in the back of a horse-drawn carriage.
Just like Skyrim.
Sounds familiar, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. And you're just being dragged like all the way to the first town you visit.
And it's and I think this is worth mentioning too. It's about 6, maybe 7 minutes that you're in the back of this cart, not able to move, able to look around a little bit, and able to lift your arms eventually. Not right off the bat.
Yeah.
So you spend, let's say, 6 to 7 minutes of a charitably hour and a half long game in the back of a cart doing nothing. So around 10% of the game is sitting in the back of the cart getting exposition dump. Exposition
up and just basically dragged to your destination.
Yep.
And so it's funny because I found an early draft that I did of this review.
Okay.
And this didn't make it into the final review, I don't think. But it said for the first 5 minutes you're sitting in the back of this cart and the game is just dragging you to your destination. And I said, which is actually a perfect analog for the entire rest of the game.
Oh yeah, no question. No question at all.
Because despite the fact that FATED the Silent Oath attempts over and over and over to make you feel like you have some kind of freedom to do anything, that's never the case.
This isn't just on the rails. It is, I mean, it's locked down. Yeah. You can walk very slowly.
Like ridiculously slowly.
Yes.
Now, here's my question. Since this game is so short, roughly an hour and 15 minutes, do you think that it's even remotely possible that Frima implemented this super slow walking speed to artificially drag out the game?
I think it's the only explanation.
It's the only explanation. You don't think that they were scared of motion sickness?
I don't know, because it's not, I mean, it's not one of like the first generation of VR games.
No, but I mean, if it came out in March, it's only about 5 months after VR launch, so it's not like they had a ton of time to really change things.
Yeah, but and they also do have some other comfort settings. You know, they have you can throw the spheres up, or you know, the kind of walking sphere, or like little plates down on the ground, or so they're aware of that. I don't think that was necessarily it, because later in the game there's a scene where you're actually, you know, driving one of the carts, and you're moving at a pretty good clip.
Yeah, that actually, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. So I don't think that's, honestly, I think it's really, they just were like, you know what, we want an hour and a half long game. We only have 30 minutes of gameplay. Let's just literally slow things down.
So, I mean, that actually, it's kind of funny that you said this, because what I realized is there is, later in the game, you do get to run one time for all of about 10 feet. Something you're crossing this bridge, something tragic happens. Oh yeah. And man, if you don't move it, you're gonna get smushed.
Yeah.
And And so you're allowed to run. Like, very, very briefly, you're allowed to run. And you're like, holy crap, if I've been... And you've already been playing the game for about, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes at this point. And you're like... And it actually made me angry. I was like, so wait, you implemented the ability to run, but only for a scripted scene where, like, you that's it.
But even at that...
So irritating.
Being able to run wouldn't accomplish anything because until, like, the conversation you're having with this character here is finished, the next thing isn't triggered.
Yeah.
So there's early on you go back to your village was destroyed and you're finding where the place where all the survivors went.
Right.
And your children are among the survivors. So, your wife tells you something about, we have to find the children. It's like, all right, I got a pretty good guess they're over there. So you start walking that way, but the game won't let you progress because she's not done talking over there. So even if you can walk your way all over there, it doesn't matter because you can see, hey, here are my kids right here, but they're not going to interact and do anything with you until, your wife comes along. And none of that, if you miss, like, the trigger event, well, that's okay. There's just this big blue circle on the ground to show you where you should be walking to.
Now, we kind of stumbled upon the reason it took me so long to finish this game.
Uh-oh.
Because my first time through... I was expecting something bigger, something more epic.
Yes.
And so it happened. So, well, I mean, and that's the thing, right? So it drops you into this first town where all the survivors are. And it says, and you talk to your wife, and she's like, let's go find the children. Yeah. Right? And you head out into basically the woods. Now, before you even leave the town area, there's all these big, long paths and stuff.
Okay.
Right? And so if you decide to not follow her, your wife, to the
no.
and just go down one of these paths, you're like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to find down here. And since it takes you so long to walk down the path, you're like, man, this is taking forever. I wonder what I'm going to find. And then you get to the very end of the path. There's like some like tree, like half down or something. And you're like, is there a collectible? Is there a piece of paper with like some story? Is there a newspaper? Is there like a picture? Is there anything...
No.
At all to reward me for having just walked very slowly down. No, and there's not. There's never, because I walked down every single path in this game. And the worst part about getting to the end of each of those paths is having to walk all the way back knowing that it was a waste of time. It took me 3 hours to play this game because I explored every bit of the environment looking for any collectible, anything to add to the story. It's why even give me the option to stray off the path if you're not going to make it worthwhile.
That's so optimistic of you. It didn't even occur to me to try that because like, this is just so locked in that there's nothing down that path. Another perfect example, like at one point you actually get a bow and arrow. It's like, there's going to be combat in this game. Okay, great.
Yep.
And wait, I can't do anything with this. Okay. Great. Until now your nephew shows, let's try some target practice. Suddenly they're active. Yep. Great. And I can hit those 3 targets and nothing else.
And then you go on a small
hunting.
Right. You encounter like 3 deer. You shoot them.
Yep. And you can't shoot anything else. And then as soon as that activity is done, you can no longer activate the bow.
You never see the bow and arrow again for the rest of the game.
Correct.
It's a mechanic that is so. That's the thing. So your nephew's like, hey, let me set up like some targets over here. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like, I'm learning. They're teaching me. This is a tutorial.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, the tutorial's continuing. We're gonna do a little hunting. And then it goes away. It never comes back. And I was like, that wasn't a tutorial. That was just a waste of time.
Yeah.
That was just nothing.
Yeah.
And so that's again one of the many things about this game that makes me think that the developers had something bigger in mind. They were like, okay, here we go. There's going to be bows and arrows and archery and there's going to be enemies and stuff and nothing, none of that. It was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to talk about exactly what happens at the end, but it definitely.
I mean, I don't think we should be spoiling the game for anyone who hasn't spent the hour.
Putting it like that, I'm not sure which side you actually fall down on.
We'll get there.
Yeah. The point being, I mean, there is a lot of indication that this is supposed to be the first episode of a multi-episode series.
Yeah, and there's definitely. I want to say even the developer at some point said there's more to come.
Yeah, but there's no hints at all that more is actually coming.
Yeah.
So,
It was a very easy way out of it. If they called it episode 1, we'd all be like, oh, just like Loading Human, no episode 2.
Yeah, and thank God. Sorry, I didn't like Loading Human.
One day we're gonna make him play it again. One day there'll be a why we want to talk about Loading Human episode. So you can hold L2 or R2 at any point in the game to kind of like do this.
Yep.
To raise and lower your arm. There are points where you're holding a torch and you're like, oh, okay, now I can raise and lower the torch. It doesn't help you see anything.
Yep, it doesn't do anything. You can walk up right up to someone, raise your hand right into and through their face in some points.
Yeah.
And no reaction, no nothing.
So again, all these things are being implemented for ultimately no reason at all.
Yeah.
Now there are some definite positives to this game. It's beautiful. I think it's beautiful.
For what it is, yes. We'll call it cel shaded, right? It's pretty close to it.
I mean,
it has that feel to it.
The backgrounds, the environments look very painting-like, especially when you get inside into a cave or something, and there's like these big mural things on the walls. It looks kind of like a painting. I think it's really, really well done. And then the characters, I loved the way the character models looked because they're like exaggerated cartoon style. They get these big eyes. They're adorable. Yeah, no,
it's definitely almost manga-esque. I mean, the eyes, but still sort of European influenced. I'm not going to knock the character design. Like the art design is not bad. I mean, and really detailed. Actually, the costumes I noticed were really detailed, surprisingly so. So yeah, pluses on that.
Voice acting for the adults, I think, was pretty decent.
Really good.
The kids were obnoxious. I don't think the kids.
Yeah, you know what? So here's the thing. There's a rule in fiction called show don't tell. So if you want to show me that my nephew is kind of nervous and scared, have him stutter every once in a while, or hesitate every once in a while, but not every single syllable, every single word.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
poor kid. There were a few puzzles. I mean,
there were puzzles.
They were basic, but okay. This whole thing, I'm trying to like lead us down a path here to sort of get to the resolution of our episode and the resolution of the game.
I will say, just to put a pin in the puzzles. A puzzle is, here's a situation, solve it. Not here's a situation, here's the solution, just do the solution.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the puzzles boil down to. But a lot of people use the term walking simulator.
Okay.
To describe games like Gone Home.
Yep.
Firewatch.
Sure.
And I always kind of look at it as like that's sort of like the pejorative term, right? It's like I don't know if there's any developer out there that's like, oh, we're making a walking simulator. But ultimately, like I really feel like Gone Home has so many things to interact with and to read and to do, and there are like little puzzles and stuff, and you figure things out, and there's like this really whatever. I really feel like Walking Simulator perfectly describes Fated: The Silent Oath, because that's kind of all you're doing. You're walking to your destination. You're walking to your next destination. You're in a horse-drawn carriage bringing you to your next destination.
Yeah.
You're constantly just kind of moving forward, doing whatever it is you have to do to walk, to move, to get to your blue dot on the floor.
And what's kind of most shameful of all is there are some moments, really cool moments. Like I don't think this is a spoiler. Yeah. There are giants at some point. Eventually, like giants are attacking, and they look great in VR.
Yeah,
and actually, you go from this like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm playing this game, to, oh, I'm really in peril and like emotionally invested in what's happening right now. Yeah. And it's really that the carriage sort of race up the mountain. Suddenly, it's like you're playing a completely different game. It's like I don't know what was happening this first half hour, but now it's just like, oh, I'm in this carriage. I actually have to drive it around, and there's a giant literally like taking swipes and knocking out the carriage in front of me. It's carriage. I mean wagons. Either way,
it's a very intense scene.
Yeah,
and there are a couple decent scenes like that. But you're right. For the most part, it feels a little out of place. It feels like a totally different game. So and that's, I don't know. I think that's kind of like that sort of summarizes the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. You got this game that's anywhere from like an hour, 15 hours to 30 minutes, so 3 hours if you did what I did. Don't do that at all.
I just want to put one word in about the ending.
Yeah.
We've talked about games with abrupt endings before, and this is definitely one of them. I don't want to spoil it. You know, if you do 30 seconds of searching, this is one of the things most people talk about. Something big and drastic happens at the end to the point of like, oh, wait, oh, it's done? Oh, what did I do? What did I do wrong? And you're going to try and go back and replay it again to get a different ending. There isn't one. That is the ending.
Yeah, you're like I tried and I failed, and then you get to nod or shake your head.
Yeah,
and you're like, I obviously did something wrong between the two things.
Yes.
And yeah, no, like again,
you did it exactly right.
Just like the end of just like the entire game, you've been led down a path, and this is the destination.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like I keep doing this.
Okay.
I feel like I do this over and over.
Yeah.
We talk in depth about a game for an entire episode, and then I just like renege on the whole thing when it comes down to like how I feel about it.
All right.
Because ultimately, a game is almost always more than the sum of its parts, right?
Sure.
Where I was like, oh hey, the graphics are pretty good. We didn't mention the sound, but I thought the sound design was pretty good.
The sound is pretty good.
The music was
good. The music
good.
is great.
I think actually the music was great. And even for the limited controls they gave us, what they gave us were okay. It's just I wish there was more. I wish there was a run button. I wish there wasn't click turning. I wish there was a lot of things added to this. You know, and I think the story was good enough to keep me moving forward and get me invested in these characters to say, hey, you know what? I'm concerned about my family.
Okay.
I'm making this journey for them, to protect them, to keep them from harm.
Okay.
And we went through like this thing together, you know, and at the end when it ended as abruptly as it did, I was like, man, like I wasn't ready to say goodbye to these characters. I wasn't ready to like move on and be like, okay, you know, like time for something else.
Okay.
I'm like, I want more. Do I wish that all these things we talked about were implemented? Do I wish that the bow and arrow came back? Do I wish that there were enemies to use the bow and arrow on? You know, like this game, I feel like this game should have been more and was probably intended to be more. And there's a little part of me that says maybe it was more at one point, and they were like, well, let's just like we got to tie up all these pieces, all this programming, and just kind of like ship this.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then here's the bow and arrow stuff in episode 2. Like, here's the stuff that we taught you to do. I mean, it doesn't make any sense from our perspective, but from a game design perspective, these people who, like, you know, Frima, I don't know anything about their company other than they make video games. But I do know that small development teams, like, live or die based on the sales of their game.
Yeah.
And so if here they are, like, trying to get this game out the door, I mean, they got it out the door, and maybe it wasn't complete. It's just a theory, kids. All right,
right.
It's just a theory. But the fact is that like I'm ready for more. If Fated Part 2 came out tomorrow, I'd be first in line to play it. I'd be like, hey, I'm ready for another hour with these characters. I'm ready to nod in my head and shake it back and forth and tell you what's up or what's left and right.
All right. Well, I guess we'll frame it like this then. Of course, we've got our ratings.
Yeah.
Number 1 is, oh my gosh, you have to buy this. If you have a PlayStation VR, this has to be in your library. End of discussion. 2 is, it's okay. Wait for it on sale, or if you have some, you know, money burning a hole in your pocket, go ahead and pick it up. And 3 is absolutely not. Do not buy this. Do not let your friends buy it. Do not let your enemies buy it. No one should be giving these people money.
I feel like 3, we should still allow our enemies to buy it.
Okay. Well, but if we allow our enemies to buy it, then the people who made this awful thing get the money.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. So, what do you think?
Oh, it's absolutely a 2.
Yeah, no question. It's a 2. I sounded really down on it, and that's because I am. But it's a 2. I mean,
it's $10.
Yeah, it's $10, and there was a lot of work put into this game. No question at all. I mean,
I'm going to call it beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm going to call the soundtrack beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, so just from an audio video standpoint, it's already worth my $10. But to have a story there that like is enough to push you through the whole game.
Yeah, see, I didn't get as emotionally invested as you did. I think it was an interesting experiment. It's funny. Like, I'm the one who usually goes to bat for experiences, while everyone else says, experiences are awful.
Yeah.
And so I was ready to get defensive about this game, but yeah, it's not. It's one of those. It's not experience enough to be experienced. It's not game enough to be game. It's just kind of,
Yeah.
So I guess my 3-word review: Fisher Price Skyrim.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in obviously the developers were greatly influenced by Skyrim, at least the Skyrim world. If not the gameplay.
At least the cart.
The cart for sure. The cart for sure. I'm just glad they weren't influenced by Skyrim character models, because these character models blow Skyrim's out of the water.
Now, there is a mod for you.
There you go.
Skyrim with the
FATED mod.
character models.
Oh, God. I'm not sure what to think anymore.
So, who do you think was cuter, your wife or the nanny?
My answer is actually neither of those. But we're not going to talk about that this episode.
I've just figured out.
All right, you guys. That was another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Make sure that in the comments, if you liked FATED, you tell us what you think.
Please do.
Is it a 1, a 2, or a 3? Or maybe do you have a different rating scale you'd like us to use? But more importantly, what other games do you want us to talk about on this amazing show?
Yeah.
Is our show amazing?
Our show's all right.
It's amazing that people watch it.
That is phenomenal that people watch it.
For Why We Love PlayStation VR, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Desra.
And we'll see you next week.